In this video, I'll explain to you how to get a light activated by a trigger. So I've got a light here. It's the red one at the moment. First thing, you got to make sure that it's a toggleable light. And so to convert a light, if you haven't brought in a toggleable light, you can always convert the lights and just right click on it and go to the menu here. And on the point lights, we'll just set that to point light toggleable. And so remember, a toggleable light has that little chain dragging down from it or hanging down from it. So just like you could turn it on and off. Now to get a switch to work, it'd probably be good to have something that looks like a switch. And so I'm just going to add a static mesh here that kind of looks like a switch. There is no specific switch in here, but this little guy here, this pickup health one, small enough and it kind of fits on the wall, and we'll just put it right there. Now that in itself isn't enough. We actually have to add a trigger, and a trigger sort of acts like a detector. So if you get inside the trigger, you'll be able to activate the light. And so we can do here, click here, right click, add actor, and we're going to add a trigger. And so just like it sounds like it should be, it's going to be a picture of a switch, a trigger, and the green here represents the sort of the area that you have to be in to activate the switch. And so if we make that a little bit larger, and you can just scale it up and just make sure it's positioned in a good spot. So there's the switch there, the sort of the static mesh, and then there's our trigger. You can just simply scale it. So grab your scaling tool and just stretch it out. And there we go. And just so that you've got enough of an area so that if you get close to it, you should be able to turn it on and off. The other thing is I always make sure as well is the height. So just in this view here, and you can do it with the non-uniform scaling, so you can just scale it up or down. And really the height doesn't matter going upwards, but just make sure it sort of hits the floor there. All right. So we basically set it up. Now we just have to go to Kismet to actually do some of the programming. So if I right click here, and this is our old one with the blinking light, it's going to have quite a bit of similarity with this. We'll need to use the toggle to turn the light on and off, but instead of having it on level loaded, we'll have it activated by the trigger. So I've got the trigger selected, and therefore I can do a new event, and we're not going to use touched here. We're going to use when we use the trigger, and that will be by pressing the E button. Click on used, so it brings this up. Then we need the toggle as well, so we're going to do new action, toggle, toggle, just like we did before. And so when the trigger is used, it is going to toggle the light. And we just have to click on the light next to let us know which target, right, that we're going to target this light. So I just, simply like we did before with the blinking light, we just set this point light toggleable here, set to the target, and so when it's used, it turns it on and turns it off. Now, two little things to do before we leave. If you click back on here, you'll notice there's properties for that switch. The sequence used, we want to turn off aim to interact. Okay, and the second thing we want to do is sort of set the max trigger count. Now it's set to 1, which is kind of, so it only work once. To get it to work an infinite number of times, and it sort of pops up here, 0 is for infinite. Doesn't make much sense, but 0 is our infinite number. And so we'll be able to turn this switch on and off as many times as we want. So that should be it. And if we go in, let's just check, play from here. And now it says my lighting needs to be rebuilt. I should probably do that first, just in case. Because I did sort of touch the lighting there, so I'm just going to rebuild the lighting, and then we'll double check. So once that's done, I'll just hit play from here and go and check this out. And as I get close to the light, I should try pressing the E button, and there we go. So as long as you're close enough to it, the E button should work. You could make the trigger bigger if you wanted, but you can see the light being able to be toggled on and off with the E button. Alright, that ends this video. Hopefully you can get a light activated by a switch into your game.